All right, so now that we have all of our posts set, I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping these first three, the ones that we set yesterday. I'm gonna start prepping the tops of those poles so that they have like a saddle, so to speak, for our smaller pipes to sit on top of them. So what I did is I went in with my compass and I drew two circles that are the same diameter as those pipes. And I folded them in half and then drew two lines where the fold was, and that represents the center of that circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these on top of the poles on each end, and then I'm going to line up a string, and that way I know right in the middle pole, I know right where the string passes through, and I'll know exactly where to mark the center. And then I'll show you how we're going to make those saddles after I do that. So here is that paper with, I don't know if you can see that pencil line, that represents the center of this pole, perfectly centered. So I ran a string from this pole over to the third pole, and it passes directly over the center of the middle pole. So what I'll do is I'll go mark with a Sharpie where the center of these poles are when they're lined up with this string, and I'll mark both sides. Here is 1/3, no, this is confusing, 1/3 of the diameter of the smaller pipe, which is going to sit on top of here. So you basically draw another circle that is the diameter of the smaller pipe, and then you fold it into thirds and you cut 1/3 of it off. That's all you're going to need. So we're going to take this 1/3, we're going to come up right to the top, line it up with our string line right here so we know it's nice and plumb. And then we are going to take a Sharpie and we are going to trace that circle onto the pipe, and that's where I know where I need to make my grind. And I'm going to cut like a saddle out of this on both sides on all three of these poles, and then our 21-foot long pipe is going to sit right on top of here. And then I'm going to weld these pipes that are sticking out of the ground to the pipe that's sitting on top of here, and that's going to be our frame for the solar array. We're going to do that with all three of these. And so we have all of our piper over there. So we're going to go ahead and just prep all these. I'm going to do it the exact same way. Draw that circle on the top, line my string line up, make an outline of that third of the smaller pipe, and do that on all three, and then I'll cut them out. All right, it's been a couple days since we had the poles put in the ground. We took all the braces off, everything looks great. We had a couple of days of rain, so I haven't been out here, but the marks that we made on these poles with those little white templates worked perfect. They're still on there. I was a little bit worried that they were gonna wash off or something, but they didn't. So I can go ahead and do this first set. And what I figured out is this 2-inch PVC is the exact same outside diameter as that black pipe that's 2-inch. So I'm going to use that as like a guide. I'm going to grind that circle off, set that pipe on there, fit it really nice, and that way I know it's going to fit when I put that big pipe on there. Each of these three pipes get one of those 21-foot long pipes sitting on top of them. And so I think we're ready to go. We have a good window here of some sunshine today. It's a little bit windy, so I'm sorry if it's windy on the camera, but we're gonna set it up and we're gonna see if we can grind these first three and get that set on there. Got my cutting wheel, all that stuff's ready to go. So let me see how this first one's gonna go, and then hopefully at least we could get today, we could get one of those big pipes put on there. That'd be kind of cool. right, first one. So that's what I'm doing. Just gonna make little notches on this black line, and then I'm gonna take the grinder and I'm gonna clean those up. It's gonna be kind of sharp and raggedy a little bit, but then I'm gonna take the heavier duty grinding wheel and then I'm gonna kind of make that smooth, fit that. So that went pretty good. These are really thick poles, so they're really gonna be strong. But what that means is it takes a lot longer to fabricate them and put them up there, but the strength is gonna be insane when all three of these are together. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the big grinder, cut that out, and then we'll just keep going. We got 8 more to do. First pole is all cut up, rough, the first pass, and that's kind of what it looks like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the grinder, we're gonna put this extra thick grinding wheel on there, and we're just gonna kind of smooth this out to that black line and make a nice saddle. We'll have to like roll this edge just a little bit, and then we'll take that white PVC pipe, test fit it, make sure that it fits nice, then we'll jump to the next pole. All right, we got our notch ground down. What I'm figuring out is I need to flare the top part of that to get this pipe to sit in there nice. So I took a Sharpie and I'm just gonna grind the top little tips on all 4 of these, on both sides, but all 4 of these little tips at the top to get that pipe to sit down in that notch. The notch at the bottom is the most crucial point because that's gonna keep that pipe to be level on all of them. So if I do overcut just a little bit on those little tips, it's not going to be that much of a deal. I want to try to make it look beautiful and sit in there perfect, but that is going to be welded and filled in with welds, so it's not that crucial. So let me just keep on grinding on it. It's going to be a process, but now that I know that I need to flare that out when I go to cut the original pass with the actual cutting wheel, I can cut a little extra out of there, so it helped me with when I have to grind. So let me just keep on working on this first one and I'll show you it finished. All right, we got it fit up there. So looks pretty good. Looks like I overground just a little bit right there, but it's not that bad. And then this one. So just a little bit of a gap right here. That's no big deal. I'll fill that in with weld. And, but nope. Super happy. That took me about a half an hour or so. The next one should go a lot quicker. Just making those notches, cutting those out. I know I can now kind of bevel the top corners of that thing, which will help me a lot. So that little piece of PVC, I was a little worried that it was gonna melt. So I was trying to let it cool down just a little bit, but it's fine. So let me just cut the X2 and then we'll pick up one of those big pipes and set them up there. I'm excited about that. What you doing?
Finding stuff.
In our maze.
Yeah.
Need some help?
And then trying to put it back in as nicely as I had it packed is about impossible.
Oh yeah.
So.
Got flashlights in the other. Am I in frame? Am I looking at you?
Yeah. Just the top of my head's cut off. I found the roasting pans. I need one though for doing the salsa.
Oh, yeah.
Found a few jars. I'd really want to find the food chopper. Like,
We've
so
looked
badly.
for that so many times.
I know. It's here somewhere. I just don't know where.
All right, back to grinding. Okay, got it done. All three of them are cut and notched. Looks absolutely perfect. This last one worked really good. I have a nice system down. I know exactly how much to take off that top notch. It worked perfect. I just had to do a little bit of grinding on this back side just to get it to sit down in there good. So I think it's only about noon right now, and I think I could go ahead and get these other 6 done.
Do you want to be on the inside?
I think it'd be good for me because I'm right-handed. You.
Well, I'm right-handed too.
Okay, so we decided that I'm gonna grab Tanya and see if her and I can pick these pipes up and set them on there.
We're just test fitting the first one, make sure it's working well, and then Levi will continue doing all the rest of the cutting.
Yeah, there's a lot of other parts that have to be fabricated first that are gonna slide onto these poles that our arrays are gonna tip and pivot on. So I have to make all that stuff first, but I'd love to be able to get them up on here just to see if everything's gonna work right. So let's see if we can go over there, grab a pole, and put it up there.
On this side? All right. It's heavy. Nice.
Whoa,
Yeah. Awesome job, babe.
looks actually well centered. Might need to come my way.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Woo.
Nice.
It's heavy.
Yeah. Gonna have to hold 12 solar panels up to a derby. Cool. All right, before I can do that last set, we need to move our temporary array. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab Tanya, see if we can just slide those between the poles. I'm gonna have to disconnect everything and take it apart a little bit, just where it's like connected to one another. We'll slide them as far away that we can from those poles, because when I start grinding on them, all the sparks are gonna kind of fly right onto them, and I don't want to damage those in any way.
Here's the chicken killers.
So it'll have to go all the way wherever.
Well, hey guys, so while Levi is outside working on the solar array, I am going to take this opportunity to finally process the last kind of final big harvest that we took out of the greenhouse. So today I'm going to be making salsa verde, and this specific recipe is from the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. I am going to be changing this recipe up just a little bit and combining two different recipes together. I'll be using the ingredients from the Ball Canning Cookbook, but I am going to roast all of the vegetables ahead of time. I did this when we lived in Michigan, and it was Levi's absolute favorite salsa he'd ever had, and so I want to do that again. The only difference is that I will not be using our oven. Our RV oven is so tiny. I mean, it is ridiculous. So I had some of these big aluminum pans in storage. I grabbed one of those, and I'm going to utilize the Traeger to roast all the vegetables for the salsa. I am very excited to use up these green tomatoes and all the jalapenos from the garden, and some of our homegrown garlic as well. And I do think it'll be just a little bit challenging. I searched for quite a long time looking for all of my canning supplies. I found jars, but I can't find my big stock pot to cook stuff in. I couldn't find my canner. Besides my my pressure canner. So I will just be using that to do my canning, and I'll just use it as a water bath canner. And I also couldn't find my food chopper. So I have a lot of stuff to chop by hand. Luckily, I do blend this recipe with an immersion blender at the end, so I don't have to go completely crazy with chopping stuff up, but I'm gonna just go ahead and get started. All right, guys. So I just got done chopping all the vegetables, and I was going to go and turn the Traeger on. And then I was sitting here and I was thinking about the fact that I have all these tomatoes in an aluminum pan. And I remember that tomatoes and aluminum don't go together. So I dug through my drawers, and I have these 3 pans that I can use. So I'm going to load up what I can into those pans, put them on the Traeger, and then whatever I couldn't fit, I'll just go ahead and throw into the pot, and I'll start cooking that down while the vegetables are roasting on the Traeger. So we'll just get those moved over, get the Traeger on, and then Levi said he is ready for me to give him a hand on getting those other 2 pipes up onto the solar arrays, and then hopefully we can test out this salsa a little bit later.
All right, I got one more left to grind. She'll go quick. I'll grab Tanya and we could set these 2. I'm really excited to see how everything looks with all 3 sections done. All right, you can see sun's just went behind the mountain. It is 3:41. So I got all 3 of the last ones notched. Tanya's gonna come out. We're gonna go ahead and throw them up on top of them.
Heavier.
Oh, this must be the heavy one.
It's the heavy one.
Ready?
That is heavy. Probably needs to go towards you.
What, a foot or so?
I got more than that.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, it's coming back down.
Yeah.
Well, looks pretty awesome.
Wow, isn't that impressive?
Yeah. Oh, look at that view. Doesn't get old. The view.
Oh, I know, look at it. It just gets prettier and prettier from now until when it gets dry in the summertime again, so.
Yeah, it really, this is like,
And the sunset, oh.
yeah, last October. So last year was our first year being here, and the first snow on the mountain. Oh my goodness. It's still my favorite because it happened again this year, and I just stare at it. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah,
so
it really is. So. Well, awesome. Thank you for coming out and helping, and now we can start fabricating all the little pieces that go on these pipes before we can weld them.
Yeah.
And then we can start getting an array. Oh, I can't wait to have like a whole full array and have endless power.
Yeah.
Not have to use the generator anymore.
Yeah, so now we just have to get this salsa going on the Traeger.
Yeah,
and
I'm excited, man.
I hope it turns out as good as it did the last time.
It will, I guarantee you.
Alright, so we pulled the 3 pans that we had roasting in the Traeger off, and we're just going to add them into the pot here that I had going, and we're just going to start cooking it down. I have decided, since it's already getting late, is I am going to just let this cool tonight, and then tomorrow I will can everything at just a cold temperature, start it all cold, and heat it all up until it's done. All right, guys, so it is the next day, and I'm gonna get this salsa canned. I am starting everything from cold. The salsa's cold, the jars are cold, and my water in the water bath canner is cold. It's really important. You don't want to cause any temperature shock and have your jars break, because that would be really sad to lose the food that you put a lot of work into. Once the water and the jars come up to a boil, I'm gonna process it for the 20 minutes that is recommended for the recipe, and then an additional 5 minutes for our altitude. And looking forward to just getting this checked off of our list of things to do. And as you can see, the salsa is very thick, which is really nice. I like a thicker salsa, and you know, it was really tasty. We really enjoyed it. I am gonna put about a 1/2 inch of headspace in each of the jars. I'm gonna have to just kind of guess, because I don't have any of my canning supplies available to me. And I will debubble also, since this is so thick. I want to make sure we don't have any pockets of space in there. And I might actually get 4 jars. And use a chopstick. Just kind of debubble here. Put a little bit more in that one, and then the rest of this will go into the other jar to eat right away. All right, so I honestly got almost 5 full jars, and this one definitely would have been full. And we would have had more even after that. But like I said, we used it for tacos last night. So I'm just gonna clean the rims off here. Don't really need to worry about that one. Just to make sure we get a good seal. Rims. I will tighten those to finger tight, and then we'll put them in the canner. All right, so I'm gonna add a little extra water in here and go ahead and turn it on. All right, it's gonna take a while, but it'll be worth it. All right, so the water is finally up to a boil. It took about an hour. I'm gonna set a timer for 25 minutes, and then we'll let the canner cool for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll take the jars out.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, it's been a couple days. It rained all day yesterday. It's kind of like the story of our life right now. We get a couple good days to build, and then we have a couple good rain days where we're making water. What I have planned for today is I'm going to make my sleeves that are going to make this array pivot. And so I estimate I'm going to need 10 3-inch sleeves. So I'm going to take our cutoffs of those 2.5-inch pipe, and I'm going to cut those down to 3 inches. I'm also going to need a couple little spacers to prevent those from sliding left or right. So I'm going to cut a couple of those. It's warming up fast. I had to ditch the big hat, but here is the cutoffs of those 2.5-inch pipes. They're a little over a foot long. So I think what I'm going to do is, to make the most out of this material, I'm going to make each of these hinges to be a little less than 3 inches, like 2 15/16, something like that. That way I could get 4 pieces out of all 4 of these cutoffs. And then I have a whole nother half of a pipe that I got to make more pieces, because I basically have to have, like I said, 10 of these little hinges. So I have 4 of these cutoffs. That'll be 16. So I'm going to need a little bit more to get 30 pieces. But I wanted to show you guys, I was cutting all those notches for the poles, and I have these Costco gloves, which are really great. I love them. And they're leather, but the tops of them are not leather, and the grinding sparks just burned right through these. So I'm on the hunt for some actual leather gloves that are leather all the way around. I have a pair of them somewhere. I do not know where they are. If you guys saw my workshop, it is a disaster in there. Trying to fit all of the tools that I have in that small little space, which once we pull the trailer out this spring and we open up that other side of the shipping container barn, I'm gonna have a huge shop. But until that, I have to just kind of be delegated to this, you know, little quarter of this one of the sides of the shipping container. So it's a little bit tricky, but I just thought that that's funny. I didn't even know that I was on fire basically, and then my hands started getting hot and I'm like, what is going on? So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these, and then I got the generator over here, so we'll fire it up, so it's gonna be kind of noisy. So we'll probably throw some music to this. Yeah, that little generator is having some trouble because I have to go slow. So I'm gonna just keep on going. It's gonna be a long process. All right, a couple things I figured out. Using that big chop saw to cut through this super thick steel really creates like a problem. It really does not want to cut through that very well. It doesn't want to stay square no matter how much I clamp it and adjust it. So what I did is I took my angle grinder and have just a cutoff wheel, which is really thin, and it actually cuts through that steel like a lot nicer. These aren't perfectly square, like I have to do a little bit of grinding to make these look really nice, but the time it takes me to cut through this with an angle grinder is about 2 minutes maybe. The time it takes me to cut through these with that big chop saw, it's got to be 10 to 15 minutes to cut through this stuff, and it doesn't do that good of a job as well. I'm gonna have to grind a bunch of stuff down to make these nice anyway. So I've decided that I'm just gonna get the angle grinder out and cut the rest of these. Everything's going fine. They're just taking a lot longer than I thought they would be. So I'm gonna switch to the angle grinder and see if that can speed the process up, and then maybe we can start getting this grid built. Hey, I just wanted to show you guys this. This is kind of funny. I cut those 4 pieces with the angle grinder, and then these are the 4 I cut with the chop saw. And I tried hard to get these to cut straight. Just that blade is just so big that it just doesn't want to go through this super thick steel. So definitely I'm going to use the angle grinder. I cut the 4 with the angle grinder, all 4 of them about the same time as it took me to cut the 1 with the chop saw. So way faster, way cleaner. And then so I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing that. I need 4 of those rings, those small rings for each array. So what this is kind of gonna go, it's gonna kind of be making my own hinge. So I'm gonna take this 1/2 inch piece, weld it onto the bar, and then this piece will spin freely. This is just a scrap chunk. So it's not cleaned up or anything, but this will spin freely on this bar and will allow the array to tip up and down, because in the wintertime we want to be about 49 degrees, and in the summertime it's better to go all the way up to like 26 degrees. So I want to be able to lock those 2 positions in and have these arrays be adjustable, because it really helps in the wintertime. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing that. So we'll just see how much time we have, if I'm gonna make all of those today or if I'm gonna start fabricating this 1 array. I kind of want to start fabricating the 1 array just so we could get it built and see how everything works out in case we need to get some stuff. But we'll just go from there. I'm at least gonna cut 2 more though. All right, so while we have the grinder out, I'm gonna take the advantage of having this 2-inch pipe up here. This 2-inch pipe piece is gonna be welded to the bottom of those upright legs that we put on. What we need to do is we need to make a notch in this pipe, similar to what we did at the top of those poles that are in the ground. You know, to make a curved notch in it, that way it fits over the pipe and I can weld that, and that's gonna make it a super, super strong connection. So I wanna do that to the bottom of these too, because what's gonna happen is this is gonna be cut into like a 4-inch piece. It's gonna have a notch cut into it so I could weld it on those upright poles. And then when that gets welded on there, I'm gonna slip one of our hinges that we made over the top of this. And then we're gonna put one of those 1/2-inch locks on here. We're gonna weld those on. And then this can just spin freely on this pipe that's welded to the upright poles that are in the ground. And then our extension pole is gonna be basically pushing the bottom of the array up or down depending on what angle we want. So that's going to be a kind of a cool design. I'm really excited to see if this works. But the first thing I need to do is I need to cut that notch. All right, we got it nice and notched in here. It fits on our this is a chunk of the pipe that we used to put in the ground. It's going to fit right on the side of that pipe just like that. So what I did is I slipped one of our stops on here, and then I slipped one of our pivots on here, and I want about 1/8 of an inch or so of a space between where the pipe is going to be, like that. So there's like 1/8 of an inch here, and then 1/8 of an inch space for our pivot to just ride along so that it can just sit here and just spin. So I went ahead and just put that on there, locked it on, traced it with a Sharpie. That represents that line. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the grinder, cut that off, and then we'll weld that onto the bottom of one of those poles. But first I need to determine how long to make it, which will dictate where that goes, because the ground kind of slopes up. So I'm going to start at that high side. Establish our 49-degree angle, because that'll be the shortest that pole, extension pole, is going to be. When we tilt it up to 26, it's actually going to extend out and be longer. So I want to make sure that those poles stop at that exact angle for this array. So I'm going to have to establish that, but I'm going to go ahead and make 3 of these just like that, grind this out, fit it to a pipe, slide a piece on here, cut it off. We'll set this aside. This will be one set. And then I'll make 2 more sets of these, and then that'll go on the bottom of those poles.
Probably could go forward a little bit, but
That's okay.
do I need to hold this still?
Well, good morning, guys. It's the next day, so we are back out, and like you saw, we picked up this end of this bar with the tractor, and what we're trying to figure out is our angle. So what we're going to do now is, using this bar, we're going to find our angle with a torpedo level and a speed square. We're going to figure out where our 49-degree angle is for the winner, and we're going to lock this in at that angle. Then we're going to go ahead and level our bar by lifting that side up or lowering it, whichever we need to do. And then we will start getting some marks, start getting ready to start welding this frame together. So we're just going to go ahead and just find this angle first. That's the first thing we need to do. All right, so that went great. So what we figured out is that setting it on the sawhorse over here is actually perfect 49 degrees. Yeah, we just have to move it to where we are 77 inches in between center to center of those two pipes. So now what we're gonna do is go over to that side, pick it up with the tractor, take the sawhorse out, and then we're gonna lower the pipe down until we're 77 inches away from each end and the level reads level.
$56.5.
56 and a half. 33 and 3/8.
This way. Am I going to be able to read 3/8?
Or half.
33.5.
We did it!
All right, so took us a bit of time, but we finally got the pole level, equal distance away from the posts that we have in the ground, and then we also have it at a 49-degree angle.
Yep.
From the top one to this one.
So now what we can start doing is starting to build those sleeves like I was talking about, where this is going to pivot. That's going to be the crucial spot, and to keep this thing square to each pole. So it's just a little bit of trial and error, but I think we're ready. We have all of our pieces cut, so now we can go ahead and start prepping that stuff, and then the big weld time. I'm at 18 button into this pole.
Sorry, I'm a little far away. About 16 3/4.
Okay. Can you help just pick it up just a little?
I'm too far away. I can't. There we go. That might have been too much.
I'm at 16 and 7/8 now.
17 3/4.
Huh. Let's get your ladder better.
Yeah, I'm like set up for Levi. Can I be on this side? Because I feel like I'm going to tip over backwards. Alright. Now I got to measure upside down.
Yeah, I'm the right way.
Yeah, 17 3/4. We didn't move it.
Okay. So now I need to go 1/2 inch or so. We'll just. $17 and a half.
17 1/4. Just shy of 17 1/2.
So I'm at 17 and. I'm at just shy of 1/2.
No, I'm at 5/16.
Okay, so you just passed a quarter?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is really challenging me with my math skills, reading this upside down. 17 and Hold on. Oh gosh. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you're at 3/8.
3/8.
So 2 numbers below the half. 2 notches below the half.
It's just too much. I'm cold. And you've been making me do a lot of math today.
Oh. This is the greatest day ever.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
cold. It's beautiful.
Are we good now?
We're good.
Okay.
All right. So now we're perfectly centered on those pipes. We can go ahead. We slipped our rings on that we're going to pivot on. So now we can go ahead and weld the upright pipes to that pipe. Weld the bottom pieces on. I'm really excited to see if it's all just going to fall over or if it's going to stay. It's kind of cool. The fog is rolling in over the mountains there. Looks pretty awesome. Everywhere it's getting fogged in, but so what I have is I have my braces at the bottom. These are going to be for our telescoping pieces for the adjustment of the angle of the array. So what we're going to do is weld those pipes on there, but they need to be not only perfectly 90 degrees like with that magnet right there. These are really cool magnets. They keep everything perfectly square. Not only do they have to be square, but they have to also be in a straight line, completely parallel with the bar that's hanging off of these pipes. If they are like canted a little bit or out of square, then it's going to cause problems when we go to adjust the angle of that. So I really have to take a lot of care when I weld these that I don't weld them at a square. Those magnets are going to keep it 90 degrees to the pipe, but I also need to have them all in a straight line. So that's going to be the next crucial point. I have that bar there I'm going to use to keep it straight, keep it in line. I do have a little bit of wiggle room because those 2.5-inch pipes have a little bit of slop when it goes over the 2-inch pipe. So I have a little bit of play for that. And again, this isn't a tire going down the road. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be able to articulate and swing a little bit to get this array to be able to be adjusted. So I'm going to go ahead and get the welder fired up and weld those 6 connections, and then we can move on to the next step, which is to weld this 2x1 channel onto those pivot points at the top, which is going to be hard. I'm not a great welder, like I've told you guys before. I'm learning a lot, I'm getting better, but that's going to be a crucial point because that's a thinner walled metal than those real thick 2.5-inch pipes. So it's going to have to be playing with a little bit of amperage and seeing if I can adjust that up and down to get a good solid weld. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on this and get these 6 points welded up, and then we can move on to the next step. I'm super cool with that. I'm running out of daylight, so I'm just going to tack these, and then I might start welding one of these. I might have enough light to weld one of them, but I figured out a perfect 105 amps to weld this 3/16-inch steel, and so the welds are looking really nice. I'm going to go ahead and just get these 3 welded, and then, like I said, I'm going to weld the top of these posts. Once we get those done, then we can start fabricating these legs that are going to hold this array up, and then the cross members that are going to hold the panels up. And then after that, should go pretty quick. I did have to order some MC4 connectors. If you guys watched our video on doing the temporary array, I had some old MC4 connectors that we used with the trailer. We ended up ordering new ones because those were kind kind of a lesser quality one. We're trying to do like the best we can, and so we ordered some new MC4 connectors. Those just came in, so we are ready to go with hooking up this one array. I would love to get this first array built and hook that up and get the inverter and all that stuff hooked up. I'm excited for you guys to see this series of us building this solar system. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna just keep on welding.